Hello, friends. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. If you are here, if you're not, that's cool too. Just got off a really cool and long and deep, interesting YouTube live on this beautiful Friday. I haven't been around because I'm studying, but I'm good. I'm still doing readings here and there. I'm going to probably venture out of that in the months or years to come. Heina's reading first. Again, I win. You do win. You win. You're a winner. Big winner. Big winner. And anyway, what came up during the live was several things. So people want to know about Neville Goddard, Tantra, Nostradamus prophecy. So we do a lot of Neville on my Patreon. We just did a Tantra series on my Patreon this spring. That's up there. Prophecies. I did a prophecy video yesterday, actually by a woman whose last name is Prophet. So that's or the day before this week, anyway. And then for YouTube, what we'll do is people asked about Nostradamus because I collect like Nostradamus books, so that's really fun. And then I think today we're going to deal with a question from a very intense question. You can always feel when someone asks a very intense question, they really put their heart into it. But it's regarding scary predictions, and I put it in quotations because there's nothing scary unless you choose to feel scared, and then predictions can only go so far, okay? So, for example, you can predict for someone something lovely, but if they don't believe that they deserve it or that they're going to experience it, they probably won't. And then they'll come back and say, why didn't I get $50 million? It's like, well, did you believe it? Did you go buy a ticket? Did you do these things? So you really have to believe that. So if you get a good prediction doesn't come true, you can also get a bad prediction and that also won't come true. Okay, so the way that it is explained is someone mentioned a repost from Bashar, who's channeled by Daryl Anka, and he explains it that basically when you think enough thoughts about the same thing, you project them and they become kind of dense. And then what happens is when someone who's particularly sensitive to those things, what you would call a seer, a sensitive, a psychic, whatever, reader, etc., they pick up on it and just reflect back to you what's in your auric field. So the funny thing is, I said there's really nothing to fear but fear itself because I love school. Like when I win the lottery, I'm just going to go to school forever, basically. I just want to learn all the things there's to learn in the world. And anyway, like what's it called? The sacred spiritual schools of like Egypt. I'll go to anything. I'll go to university. As you could tell, I love learning. This is a place for learning. That's the whole thing. But I was told that I wouldn't be able to achieve that or that I wouldn't go to university. And I did go to university, okay, more than once. So what is there to fear? It's like, and I didn't strongly react to it emotionally. I just was like, okay, cool. Like that's what they see. They're doing their job. Maybe they're killing time. Throw your little bum ass money and keep it moving. Like I don't care. Like I don't get like wrapped up in it emotionally. It doesn't topple my equilibrium. I'm very sure in what I want to do and I'm certain. And I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how many times I have to try. I'm getting the desired outcome I have set my heart upon. Okay. Because you don't know the desire that I have. So when people say things like, oh, it's God's will, I believe, this is my opinion. I don't really care either way, but this is my opinion. When you want something really intensely, God put the desire in your heart and he understands all the ways that it is possible to fulfill that desire. So when you say it's his will, well, his will is now your will because he gave you the will. So it's thy will be done. Literally is also your will be done. So it's both of your wills fulfilling themselves. And then when a third party comes in, like a person, and they say, that's not going to happen for you, who are you going to listen to? Your maker that made you and everything else, or one person giving their like opinion? And I'm not like demonizing them, like they're just doing what they know how to do, fine, but it shouldn't have that much power over your emotions. And the person in question was really emotional about it. Okay, so I would say that's your first thing, is not to feed the fear, starve the fear, feed the faith, like, and don't feel so much resistance. I think when you're in a position where it really really gets to you and you struggle to just not think about it or to hardly think about anything else, you just have to find a way not to let it bother you. Like, even if you don't think about it ever again. Abraham Hicks has a really good quote on this. A woman was asking about like when she'll get married, and they say, well, look at all the other things that are going well in your life. Look at your job or your pet or a sunrise or a sunset. And it's like all she could think about was like marriage. And they said, do you want to know what's so ironic? The path on the towards the thing that you want is almost never on that path, because you just have too much resistance. So like if you're so afraid that, something won't happen, like you're afraid that you won't get a job when you graduate from your masters or whatever, okay? Thinking about work and applying yourself so diligently to the point that you spoil your own mood actually doesn't get you closer to a job. Like maybe joining a volleyball team and taking a run by the beach or the lake every day puts you in a good mood, and you will randomly just run into someone and they offer you a job. So you think of it that way. So it's just basically you scaring yourself. Like I really encourage, we're doing a series on A Course in Miracles on Patreon. So just the only thing there is to fear is basically your own perception. And any kind of fearful thought is a misperception. It's basically you misuse your own mind against yourself and then look for ways to blame the world, if that makes sense. Okay. So you're like, I've been told I'm going to be a victim of this thing. I don't want to be a victim of that thing. But this person said, who cares what they said? Who cares? You you pay them money to say something. They had lunch with their friend. They forgot what they told you. They forgot that you're spinning. Your mind is now spinning and you're trying to like save yourself and claw back from the brink of despair. It's just not that serious. And I know I'm going to sound insensitive, but honestly, whatever happens here is just not that serious. Like Earth is ridiculous. Have you ever thought about it? Like just look around. We live in a silly goofy place. Honestly, like a friend of mine one time, she said, "I don't understand the world. I don't understand the world. Sorry, I have allergies." She's like, "I don't understand the world. I look at people, they're dating or married and they're miserable, and then they want me to do everything the way that they did it so they can justify how they ended up where they ended up. And I don't want to do it." She says, "I want to do relationships my own way, that are whatever, full of integrity and honor and spiritual maturity and emotional bliss. And then she said this, it just kills me, but it's so true. It's so accurate. She says, and they're like, "What do you mean you want to do what I don't want to do? No, no, no. You have to do what we did. Okay. Come on. You have to go to clown school, go to clown college." And then she went, "Put on the nose and the shoes, wear the wig, wear the wig. Come on." And she's like, "I don't want to wear the nose. I don't want to wear the wig." And they're like, "Why? We're all clowns. Be like us." And she's like, "I don't want to be a clown. I'm not a clown. And then they get angry. And that just made me laugh. But in A Course in Miracles, basically, is a line where it says, what is normal is not necessarily what's natural. And I was like, that's very true. So if everyone is in fear over something happening or not happening, I don't care if millions of people agree. If it feels wrong, it's not natural. I really couldn't care less. You could not pay me to give a rip, a lick. I don't care. They'll be like, I get a lot of like backlash and stuff. I think anytime you publicize anything, people have things to say. But that's fine, but I don't care, I don't agree with you. It's like, "Why don't you agree? Everybody else does." I was like, "Great, I'm not everybody else. I'm just a girl. I'm one person, and I make up my own mind. I don't do it to be difficult. I'm not stubborn. Like, if you've come to the lives, like, I'm warm and friendly and whatever. I have my own mind, but I'm not a pushover, okay? And I'm not arrogant. I'm just telling you, I don't care how you do things. I have my own life, my own free will, my God-given authority to exercise what I want over my life. And I choose not to feel like a victim. I choose not to feel small." Archangel Michael, welcome. Michael says, "My mom should listen to this." Well, you know what? So speaking of A Course in Miracles, there's something I really want to say. Somebody on TikTok, I don't know who, I'm sorry, it was like very quickly passing on FYP. They gave this analogy basically of Joseph from the Bible, how he was sold into slavery, like just had a horrible life, but then fulfilled like a great destiny. And they said, well, that's the difference between experiencing trauma and being traumatized. They're two very different things. So, and it's something I find so fascinating. And people will say, like, it's easy for you to have a hard life. I did have a hard life. What I like to call a colorful childhood, because I don't want to beat the drum of song that I don't like. You know what I mean? Like when I'm listening to those Reddit things, they're like, my husband wanted to open our marriage because he wanted to get with his coworker. That I left him for his boss. I'm like, I love that song. Play it again. Play it again. But if you don't like the sound of something, don't play it again. So Nazreen says, I'm still laughing at the clown school analogy. No, it was hilarious. She's like, they're dragging my arm. They're like, come on, let's go. And I don't want to go. I don't want to wear the nose. I was like, I don't want to wear the nose, girl. Either. Trust me. Trust me. And my mom's kind of like that. She's sort of like, my whole life, like the whole thing where I'm like, "Well, there's a party I'd like to go to." She's like, "Oh, if your friend want to jump from bridge and die, are you going to die?" I'm like, No, but like I want to go to the party. But it's like that. It's like don't be swayed. And if if you listen to yourself and it feels wonderful, it's not bad for you. But I don't mean that in a fleshy sense, like lust or and like speaking of scary predictions, I don't mean to sound unromantic or not very sentimental. Like I'm not a very romantic person, but I am like I'm a woman of deep feeling, okay? But there's a lot of truth in something, and that is that this isn't a very rosy outlook, but life is a perpetual appeasement of hunger and needs. It never stops. Okay, you have to sleep when you're tired, you have to eat when you're hungry, drink water when you thirst. It's just like a perpetual fulfillment of a hole, of a void. And you can't break it through physical means. You can sleep with all the people you want, earn all the money you want, have all the you can't. It's not possible. You're doing it backwards from the outside in. So when you are scared of scary predictions or you're hurt and you say to the world, you have to look different so that I can cheer up. I promise, I'm not saying to be me, it will never happen because it's not the world's job to make you happy. It's your job to be happy. So be happy. But I was going somewhere with that. Anyway, clown school. But no, it's true. You don't have to go with the flow. And so how do you know the difference? This is what it was. How do you know the difference? Abraham has an amazing saying and honestly dictates my life. So when basically, let's say people who, they're going through life, they mature out of a phase. So, like I'm not a crystal person. I don't think, a crystal can like dictate to me my power, future, whatever. I think they're beautiful. I appreciate them as creations of nature. I think they're lovely and wonderful. I have a beautiful bunch, but I don't give them my power. My power is in me. Does that make sense? Okay. And so if someone goes through life believing that is true, and now they no longer believe that is true, they take back their power, they tend to have a strong sense to retaliate and say things like, that's evil, doing these things are evil. It's like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So you at one point in time misappropriated your own energy. You put a filter over your spiritual vision. And now that you've lifted the filter, your mind is still warped because it's still operating in fear. So, what's the difference between someone like myself who believes in the divine and is a praying person and a pious person, a pure person in a way, not all the way, in a way. I can look at that and not feel fear and know it for what it is and know it has no power over me. And someone that doesn't. It's how connected you are to yourself. The saying is this, you will know it by the way that it feels. That's it. So I can listen to a pop song on the radio that everybody is frothing at the mouth over, like they have rabies. They're just like, "Gar, gar, gar, gar," they're about to bite you. And they love it. They love it. They can't believe their fortune. They're listening to this. Okay. And I listen to it. And I literally, it's that South Park episode where I think it's Stan. He's like, everything sounds like, and it's like, come on, dude, listen to this new song. And it's like, okay, like literally I just hear like garbage. And I'm like, how is this getting like 20 million streams? What even is this? Like, I'm not judging it in that sense. It's the way that it feels to me is so distorted. It doesn't like light me up. You can feel it right away in your body. You can feel it in your body, but you can't judge other people because they are where they are when they are there in that point in their journey. So if you get a scary prediction, I promise you in a year you won't even remember, you won't even care. In 2 years even less so, in 10 years it's like it happened to someone else. It never even happened, okay? As you go through life and you mature, things just stop having an effect over you, or at least they should. And if they don't, you should very seriously consider your point of maturation. Okay, that's all I would say. But anyway, nothing can have power over you. Like that is the funniest thing to me ever. So for example, let's say we really just give too much power to things that don't mean anything. I'll be honest. And maybe that's a stretch, but that's like the first lesson of A Course in Miracles is things mean nothing. Life is just meaningless. You give it meaning. I'm tired of astrologers saying 1,000 times that bad things will happen, and then when they happen, they say, "See, I told you so." I'm an astrologer, and the first thing I would say is, "Who are you to tell me?" And they'll say, "Well, you paid me, so I'm telling you." You are telling me what you see. You are not confirming that it is certain. Does that make sense? For example, um, one of the reasons that I don't particularly care for childbirth predictions is because you need someone else. So women are a lot easier to see in the chart of a woman than the chart of a man. Maybe not for all astrologers. For me, this is the case. So if someone says like, I'm going to have a baby in 2 years, I'm like, oh yeah, you are going to have a baby in 2 years. They're like, but I'm single. Well, you clearly need a cooperative component to conceive. So if you want to conceive, believe that you'll find love before you do. But what you're not going to do is sit there and say, well, I really wanted a child and I wanted a husband, but I didn't have a date, so I didn't see how the child, so you block yourself. You're saying, "Oh, this didn't come first in this order, and so it didn't happen, so all of this is wrong." And then, to sit there and then it's like a reverse thing. They're like, "I told you so." It's like, "You didn't tell me anything. You just never believed it to begin with." But, the bad things is different. I would say warnings, or just like I always say, my humble opinion, like, I'm just a girl. I'm just telling you what I think. I would not drive fast this month. I would not speed. Okay, so Virgo risings, for example, there's a Rahu Mars conjunction in the eighth house this month. Don't run with scissors. Don't go ziplining. Don't go skateboarding without a helmet. It's like the ultimate combination for injury. Okay. No elective medical procedures, no tattoos, no piercings. Rahu and Mars poison the blood. Okay. So be very mindful. Don't eat food you're not comfortable with. You can get food poisoning. That's fine, that's a warning, but I'm not speaking it unto you like a curse. And I'm not justified or vindicated when people bring bad news. It breaks my heart. And sometimes I see a chart that's so decrepit that honestly, I can't sleep until I pray. I don't even tell, I've never told a client, but I can't sleep until I pray for you. I can't. My soul won't rest. It's like in my body and I feel sick. And I have to pray the best things in life for my like brother or sister of humanity before my soul can be at peace. I don't wish those people onto you. It doesn't, and giving bad news or good news at the end of the day, once the reading is paid for, you don't get any more money. You know what I mean? Like there's literally no incentive other than to be petty to spread fear. And I would take astrology out of that and say even like people who talk about religion do that. It's always like something hanging over your head. There's no need for that. Okay. The Fates, great name by the way, great username. The Fates says, "What do you think about mystic rebels talking about fake astrologers?" I'm not sure what that is. What is a mystic rebel? I love the term mystic rebel. Fake astrologers. What's a fake astrologer? Nazreen, are astrology predictions psychic predictions, or is it more fated in a sense? I don't know. Prediction is a prediction. Abraham Hicks says that most astrologers are better psychics than psychics because they don't actually know that they're channeling. And I've been told this many times. They're like, "You're actually psychic." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm really not. I just study and work hard. I work really hard. I don't cut corners. I'm very well read. I just like practice what I preach." And they're like, "No, there's things you've said that cannot be possible otherwise." I think cool. Then I'll go to a psychic and I think they're well meaning, but because they really believe what they're saying, they don't understand that what they're saying isn't plausible. So one thing I always found funny, like I'm not a particularly romantic person. So I never ask about love. I always ask about my path in life and all these things. And they just bring love into it. So I think that they're well meaning because they see a woman, they see I don't have a ring on my finger. So they just assume I'm single and then they assume and then they start saying things, right? And another thing is I'm tall, right? I'm 5'8" and a bit. And then they'll say he's like 6'4", and I'm just like, that's totally fine. I'm happy to marry someone 6'4". I have no problem with that. But I'm not heightist. Like it actually, if you're strong in spirit, I can't see your height. Does that make sense? And I've my ex who was like just like has like a smallness about him. He was over 6'3", but I couldn't like with my physical eyes, he didn't seem like a giant to me because he was just like pathetic sometimes when he was moody. So I was like, yeah, that doesn't, but I mean, I think they're just trying to like read you and say things you want to hear, which is great, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm not judging them. It's not neither here nor there. And I know there's really good psychics. I just don't care either way. It doesn't like, yeah, I'm never like drawn to the idea of a reading or whatever. Apart from you, you are very different. I realized this a long time ago watching your videos, and strangely, your energy feels so good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate that. I believe astrologers more than psychics. I find them more accurate from tarot divination form. I agree because you have to study really hard, and you have to, depending on what kind of astrology. This is where I think I have no problems with the method. Like modern Western astrology isn't broken or wrong in any sense, but I think a lot of the people that do it, it's a little bit like pop music or sensationalized. There's no initiation. Does that make sense? Whereas when I transitioned into Vedic, it was like painful. Like I had to sadhana, I have to do things, like, I had to transform myself. I know it sounds dramatic, but I'm a different person. I'm a new person. I'm a new creation. Like, it sounds wild. Like, people are born again. They say, I'm a new creation in Christ. I'm actually a new creation in Christ consciousness. Like, I'm not who I was. It sounds bizarre unless you experience that awakening and have like profound experiences, which I did. And I want to say they were involuntary or spontaneous, but they were not unprompted because I was so disciplined and so obsessed with purity that I birthed a new version of myself. So I understand why everybody would see things differently or do things differently. I don't judge them. They just are where they are, and that's great. But I know what you mean. Like when someone's like, so like the reason I started Guru Grit because I was tired of seeing stupidness. Like I don't believe they'll be like, August 8th is going to be a magical day. It's the 8-8 portal, and I'll just laugh because I'm like, oh my God, like it's the 8th of the 8th month. Let's drop trow and like go to town. Like it doesn't matter what day it is. If you want something, you can just get it any point in time. Like I just find it funny, or they'll say something like, I don't know. They just make it up. They're like it's 333 or 777 or again, like I think it's cute. I don't think it's like this year exactly. August 8th is going to be 888 numerologically. Okay, so 2024 reduces to the number 8, and they're going to like be just wait. All of social media is going to be on fire for this, and it just doesn't mean anything. Okay. Don't know if it's channeling or like reading signs accurately from the stars or planets. Depends. Yeah, exactly. It depends. So I just want to go back. The Fate said, "What do you think about Mystic Rebel talking about fake astrologers?" I don't know. Like a fake astrologer to me is, and I don't even want to call them fake. It sounds like mean to them, But again, it's just because that's where they are in their journey. Like maybe they're really enthusiastic about what they're learning, and they're so excited to share it with the world. But I've always said as a consumer of a service, you should exercise great discernment. If somebody's 23 years old and they're charging two, three, four, $500 for an hour, I'm not, again, unless you're a prodigy, and I can count on one hand how many world famous like child prodigies in Jyotish or astrology are alive today. You're probably not them. So I don't know why anybody would go to you. And astrologically, you're not even an adult until your first Saturn return. So I'm not saying that to negate or belittle like a spiritual gift, but most people actually aren't that spiritually gifted, and they think that that method will give it to them, but it's the other way around. You purify from the inside, and then you can use anything and give a really good reading. And in fact, you don't have to use anything at all. I just do spiritual sessions. We come, we talk for an hour, and we can bust out some of that like inner blockage. It's like a film over your eyes. But it just depends. So if that's what you mean by fake, I get it. Another thing too is just like have discernment. If you go on like Instagram or whatever, and some like big-eyed, like the marketing is on point, and it's like entertainment based. I don't know how else to put it. Because again, I'm not judging it. I think that's great. I'm not good at those things. I'm not a marketer. You can see that. Like obviously, I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm not a marketer, and I don't care for that. I care about the message, and I've always assumed people who want to hear it will come. Okay. Anyway, if you're into astrology, you'll know exactly why I launched it the day I launched it, because I'm only concerned with authenticity. I'm not interested in lip service. I'm not interested in numbers. I'm only interested in people who really want to learn. Um, Anyhow, yeah, if it's like, a huge following or something like that, that's fine. That's great. But what they're saying is just like empty and frothy. Just remove yourself from that. Because at the end of the day, this is like your life. Who cares if somebody's holding a popularity contest? You should be very considerate of like what you choose and how you choose it and why. Okay. You should really care about yourself enough to do your research in that sense. And maybe we can do a separate video on just like the logistics of readings. I think a lot of people don't actually understand what they should expect. And so they're just so impressed by certain things when they need not be, So, yeah, I would also add. So, one thing I would never do, let's just do it now. I would never, ever, ever, ever get a reading that's a PDF, because they're literally just copy pasting. So if you're like Nazreen, if you're like a Sagittarius rising, they'll say, "Oh, there's a full moon on May 23rd in your sign. It means this," and they'll just go through like an index and copy paste different things. Like your moon is in this, your sun is in that. It means this, but they're not giving you deep reflection. Like, is the sun 5 places from the moon? Is the moon 10 places from the sun? If you're a woman, that's a very different experience than if you're a man. You've got to know all these things, right? So it's you're never gonna get like deep, you know. So that's why I'm really that. And when I started it, I thought, what would I do? Is what I would do is what I would want to be done for me. I want to personalize reading, and I don't want to read it. I'm tired. I read so much, I get vertigo and like stress headaches, like my neck cracks because I'm always reading. So I want to hear it. I said, okay, it has to be video, it has to be audio. Okay, so I'm going to do audio recordings. I'm going to address you by name because you took the time and the courtesy to give me your hard earned money and address me by name and write to me and tell me what you want. And now I'm going to do the same for you as a courtesy, you know. So if you go on Etsy or something, again, I'm not saying all these things are bad, but whatever, it's like value for money. You're gonna like give $50 for like a 10-page PDF, and literally it's just like generated from software. It takes them like 3 seconds to do it. You know, don't do that. Like have some just pay more and get a good, really good reading. Anyway, so by fake astrologers, I don't know. Like again, everyone's on their own path. We're all doing our own thing. I don't personally believe it's the greatest of dharma if you know what you're doing is, you know, not true. But if you're learning and that's kind of like your path and what you're doing, then that's totally cool. I'm always down to help people as well. Um, and then you said faded in a sense. Okay, so you said are astrology predictions psychic predictions or is my faded sense? There's not really a difference. So let's say I see in someone's chart they will live abroad and have children abroad. So whether they went to an astrologer and psychic and saw that or always wanted it doesn't really make a difference because it's like a signpost that's saying this is what's kind of best for you. And if it's what you wanted anyway, it happened to me last week and the woman said, "Yes, I know." And she married a foreigner and she lived in a country outside of her birthplace. So it's just like so obvious. It's like whatevs, right? But if you don't want to, you obviously don't have to. But if it's something that's in your heart, that's really encouraging. Also, if you could see something in someone's chart that they don't prefer, you don't say it to exacerbate their fear, but then they can work their way out of it. It's like I think I personally find it really empowering when someone tells me something I prefer not to hear. I think, "Oh, okay, I've got some work to do there." Great, you know, I don't like there's no reason to be upset. Does that make sense? And then for Archangel Michael, who said, "And strangely, your energy feels so good." So that's so funny because I endeavor to make the kind of content I like watching, and because I think I got on YouTube when I was like, you know, my early 20s, and my all the videos were kind of like kids on their laptops who were like my age, just like talking into their laptop camera, and it just gave me like a warm, cozy feeling, like you're hanging out with a friend, you know. And I just, like, stayed with that. So anything that's really, like has, like, good production quality, I don't like it. I can't explain it. It just feels so, like, overdone. I can't explain it. I don't prefer it. Like, I've had the opportunity to, like, rent studios. I've met people who said, like, "Come to us, like, we'll do for free. We love you." And I was like, "I just don't I just wanna be in my room. I can't explain it." I feel like that's what I would wanna look at. And, and then now with the rise and this only happened, like, late last year, this year, where the AI videos are out of control. Like, these videos are out of control. The voice is like that, you know, and then they'll be like, Louise Hay affirmations, and it's not even Louise Hay's work. They just, like, stole her face and her voice, and I think, yeah, like, everything looks so, like, polished and curated. I don't even like and obviously you're not listening to a human being because 'cause they're not human, it's AI, but I thought I wanna be, like, the anti that. Like, I don't care if that's the norm, it's not natural for me. I want you to feel like we're just they've never got a reading, never bought anything from me, they've never come to the TikTok live, nothing. They all just say, "I found you on YouTube." It's really heartwarming. This is what life is about, like little things like this. And they'll say, "I don't even know you, but I feel like we're friends already. And I feel that when I'm bored or lonely or when I'm cleaning my house and I don't like being home alone, I will literally put on your channel and just let the videos play because I feel like you're in the room with me and I'm safe." And I love that because when I started Guru Grit, I was so nervous. Like I still get nervous. I don't like putting I don't like being here. No, I'm kidding, but it's nerve-wracking because you never know what you're gonna get back, right? And sometimes it's not pleasant or sometimes it's confusing or whatever, quarrelsome. And my best friend was living in Germany at the time, and we really missed each other, and she said, when I'm working or when I'm studying or washing dishes, she says, "I just have your channel on all the time. It makes me feel less homesick. I hear your voice. It's like we're not apart. It makes me feel safe, you know?" And I was like, "That's so cute because we're friends, you know?" Actually, she's coming to visit me today. She's coming from Vancouver. So welcome, Dom and Karen. And then strangers started doing it. And I thought that's so beautiful. Like over the course of like 3, 4 years, it's like you can reach into people's souls. It's like just beautiful. I just love it. So welcome. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah, the earlier style of YouTube is coming back, I think. It feels more authentic. Yeah, exactly. Honestly, my favorite YouTube videos are like a little bit grainy. And it is before people would I don't even know that they had the Apple earphones, earbuds that had the microphone on the cord, you know what I mean? So if it was like late at night, I remember a few of the like creators, they would like be making these videos in their houses and locked in the bathroom, like sitting on the floor, like balancing their wobbly laptop on the bathtub. And they would be like kind of talking like this because they would just be speaking into the laptop and trying not to make too much sound, you know? And I thought, I love that. I just love it. It just felt so like real, like you were really with them, just chilling and kicking. And I do sometimes find it funny. I'm like, I would love to do like a filter, you know, the ones where you're like in space or on vacation, or the Zoom ones where you're like in San Francisco at the Golden Gate Bridge. But only for my own humor, because ultimately, like, this is so much like cooler. And then when I do videos outdoors, it's honestly places I frequent all the time. I don't take you anywhere for the purpose of the video. We're off topic, but it's honestly because that's just like what I do. You know, if you lived where I live, you would know everywhere I go. So today I'm supposed to go to the beaches. You know, it's Friday. I'm either at Kensington Market or at the beaches on Fridays. And that's like, yeah, I film so much content there. And you would just know because that's I take you with me. It's like an extension of myself. Anyway, speaking of extensions of oneself, there's nothing to fear. So Marie says, I was hooked after my very first reading from you. Thank you so much, Queen. You had me laughing and it felt so comfortable, like a good friend chatting me up. I love your style. Thank you so much. We are all just friends. We're all just doing our best. What does he say? Rising tides raise all ships. And ultimately, what I'll be getting into for the Course in Miracles stuff and the more Neville Goddard stuff is, the commandment, love thy neighbor as yourself. That's exactly what that is. When you wish well for another and you entertain them and you're glad for them, you bless yourself. When you curse another, you curse yourself. There's just no benefit to it. There really, unless you study Tantra and you understand. But there's no need. No thanks. Sorry. I just got a text. Do you want a slushie? I said, no thanks. Okay. Do you read your own astrology charts or are you better at reading others? I'm better at reading others. I can read mine in that like I can logically understand what I'm reading and seeing, okay? I did this on Patreon a few years ago. My chart is on there and everything. I understand, but for some reason it's just like it's like stuck, like someone's hitting the brakes like, oh, I feel like that giant black and white cat that's like, huh? Huh? Like, I can't predict it. I can't explain it. Some things I've predicted here and there. I did something pretty remarkable a year in advance. This was a few years ago. I said, I'm going to get audited. And everyone's like, that's so stupid. How did you see that? How would you even know that? I was like, because this is law enforcement and that's government. And then this is money, like tax money. And this is going to go retrograde and it's poorly aspecting. I was like, just watch. And they're like, you're not even important enough to like look at or whatever. And literally, at the very tail end of that 8-month transit, guess who got a letter in the mail from the freaking government? And I was like, I knew it, you know? So sometimes I can predict really cool things, but generally, no. Generally, I cannot read for myself. And on the TikTok live we just did before this, there was another reader there, and she said, I go to readers, they don't tell me anything. Like she's like, they can't read for me. It's like you're blocked or something is preventing you. Like it's like a shield. You just can't. And other people can't see into you either. I think it's a protective measure or something like that. During a channeling period in my life, I came across you on changing. changing or challenging. I came across you on TikTok and I was always watching you because you gave me peace. So thanks for existing. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for existing. There's literally no point in having anything if you have no one to share it with. So I really appreciate your viewership. I always thank people for that. I don't say things like thank you for my followers or fans. It's not what you are. You literally like I was saying, the teacher and the taught create the lesson. So the speaker and the listener create the discourse, the conversation. If people didn't pay attention or watch, it would just be nothing. It would be a vast nothingness, a void and emptiness. So you are vital part to the equation. Without you, nothing would make sense or exist, So I'm glad we found each other. I really appreciate you. And I hope apart from lessons, I hope that you got some laughs because next to enlightenment and sleep, laughing is the greatest thing that you can do because it stops thought altogether. So speaking of people who get scary predictions, just laugh. Just laugh about it. It like can't hurt you. You're good. Also, what should we have for dinner tonight? I'm starving. What's the plan? What's the sitch? What are we doing? I'm craving chicken wings. I had them yesterday. Want to have some chicken wings again. Made some coleslaw, but I'm out of slaw. Maybe a salad, sweet potato fries again. Love it. And hot weather makes me not want to eat. Does that make sense? Do you think getting hair in food is a scary prediction? Do you know what's so funny? This is so funny. So first, it depends who makes the food because we all grow up eating our mother's hair, and one day in time, our children will be eating our own hair, so it's fine. But if someone put it there, yeah, it's probably not a good thing. It's probably not a good thing. But just this morning, a friend of mine said, this man said I had like a curse or something or whatever. And I was like, yeah, they always, I think anytime a woman goes to someone, like, especially if it's a man in the spiritual realm, I'm already really like unimpressed. And they just end up saying the craziest things to you. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. But, they'll try to say like someone basically, I don't know how to, let me just think of how to phrase this. I have a wicked headache. Excuse me. My neck is so tense. How do I phrase this? Okay, so one of the things that's believed in terms of what we would call like the dark arts or whatever is there has to be an energetic exchange. So, of the most powerful of this is through sexual means and transmutations. Okay. Second to that is food because it's a form of consumption and it evolves your DNA. So, if someone deliberately put hair in your food, that's weird. But if it's an accident, I don't really care. Again, I would just laugh because I just find it like really funny. But again, maybe I'm arrogant. I really don't think anything can hurt me. I think it fears me. That's how I am. I just don't care. Like, I don't understand. I love God so much that nothing really frightens me. I don't feel a lack of anything. Not anything. Like right now I have a lack of chicken wings that I really want. But not like in a profound sense. Like there's just what are you afraid of? Just live your life. Like why are you so stuck? Like, that's what I get a lot from people. I just feel like they're very stunted and they don't know how to get out of it. So they're always looking for physical means to satiate themselves. And speaking of scary predictions, that can even be it. Like, you want to hope for something so much more that you're searching outside of yourself for an answer that you cannot find outside of yourself. It's in you. I mean, all day, every day. Thank you so much for being here. I had so much fun. I hope this answers the questions. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Faith is the most powerful force in the world. You just have to believe. It sounds too good to be true, and it sounds like fluff, like frothy internet nonsense to say, all you have to do is believe and the world is yours. But that's all that there is. But if you believe in the opposite, if you believe in limitation, you believe in fear, then so it goes. That's what you get, But if you're free and you're calm and you're happy and you're zen, then whatever you want to call it, walk with God. Literally, it's a walk with God. You're just full of light and you're happy and you're not tense and uptight and serious. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for supporting me and loving me. And keep an eye out on I'm really going to try to get to it this weekend and post books. I have so many. If I showed you my room a few times before and how many books I have, and people said it triggered their like OCD and their anxiety because it's just like stacks of hundreds of books, okay? But I'm trying to sell them as best as I can, okay? There was this TikTok I watched that said that the story of being stuck keeps us safe. Again, that's a fear-based thought because what is there that could make you feel unsafe? Does that sound something interesting? Just like I said earlier, you can experience trauma but not be traumatized. They're two different things. Some people go through what we would consider a normal response to be is being traumatized because their experience is so vile and an assault to all of our senses, and yet they're happy and well-rounded, balanced emotional human beings. They're balanced. And then some people do not experience heavy things that we would consider from our human perspective as difficult or abusive. But pain is so relative that to them, they cannot escape it. They've warped their perception of their own. I don't want to say reality. It's not a question of reality. It's a question of how it made you feel. If you don't like it, like Reverend Ike says, I tell my feelings how to feel. That's how I've always said. I said that too when I was 12. So I tell my thoughts what to think. I tell my feelings how to feel. I don't care. The only really thing, the things in the news that ever made me truly sad were very few. Okay, the death of Princess Diana, the death of Michael Jackson, the U.S. screwing up Libya, and the death of Prince. That's kind of it. Like everything else, like really had no effect on me. Like I just know better. Okay, once in a blue moon, I'll hear of something. I think one time I was listening to the radio when I was lying in bed. This is a long time ago, like almost 20 years ago. It was a long time ago. And I heard something random. It was like 3 in the morning. And there was something about like a school collapsing somewhere in Asia and like killing 300 children. And that was it. I just couldn't sleep. Like it made me so sad. But that is so incredibly rare. You don't have to let that in your spirit. You don't have to let things root themselves in you and like poison you. Just remember. And I think the reason why people fall victim to these fearful predictions and things like that is that they don't understand their own power. Because when you understand how powerful you are, which I haven't even done, it's so much responsibility to be accountable for every single thought you think that it's frightening. It's so much easier to go with the flow of your circumstances than to acknowledge you did that to yourself. And trust me, when I get a parking ticket, I know exactly why I got it. And the first few times it really stings, but you get over it. My mom feels the same way. She didn't care after Whitney Houston and MJ died. Oh, see, I did care. Those are the few things that I really cared about. I was like, I love Whitney Houston. And I'm also very suspicious. Like sometimes a celebrity dies, I'm like, it like really bugs me. I feel like a light goes out in the world, but not all famous people. Very small, select, very small. Like Michael Jackson was some type of angel. Like he wasn't even fully human to me. I adore him. Okay. Like he is not what they tell you he was. That's all I will say. If you could see it through your spiritual sight, you would understand he is not what the media tells you. That's just a fact. I can still accept that MJ is not here. I still can't. I can't. A light went off in the world. I'm telling you, a light went off in the world. Like it got snuffed out, just like Princess Diana. Anyway, we'll get through it together. We'll be fine. I've got a killer headache. I'm so sorry. I've been talking for like 3 hours. I love you. I will please keep an eye out for books. I'm trying to do so in 2 days, Jupiter changes signs. I owe a bit of a spiritual debt, as it were, 'cause this is what I believe. I don't have to believe it, but see, I choose to believe it. But don't worry, because there's a spiritual solution to every problem. So saith Wayne Dyer. And what I have to do is actually run a book sale. I'm overdue. So thank you so much. And you know what? That's why I have this username is for him. Amen. He really is an angel. Thank you so much, the faith. Thank you, Nazreen. Thank you, Michael. But I have to do like a 30% off or like a buy one, get one free, or we could do like a fun raffle where like if you buy a book, I just give you a free one, but I don't tell you what it is. Does that make sense? Good luck in everything in life. You too. I love you all. Until next time. Bye.